In today's episode of The Landscape on the road to KubeCon, we have a special treat as we're joined by two powerhouse voices in open source, Lori Lorusso and Katherine Druckman, who are not only bringing their expertise to KubeCon, but also adding a splash of costume fun to their presentation. Lori, who's a head of community at Percona and also a CNCF ambassador, and Katherine, an open source evangelist at Intel, are taking us on a journey through the CNCF landscape in their talk, A Hitchhiker's Guide to the CNCF Landscape. In this episode, we dive into the purpose behind their talk, helping attendees navigate the vast and sometimes overwhelming world of CNCF projects. They'll share insights on how to unlock resources you might not know about, discover ways to integrate new tools into your infrastructure, and, most importantly, understand how the cloud-native landscape can work for you. Lori and Katherine bring their community-focused approach to KubeCon, kicking off the Project Pavilion to give both newcomers and veterans a welcoming space for learning and collaboration. We'll hear about Lori's talk on networking in open source that she'll be giving at Cloud Native Rejects, also about Katherine's exciting plans for recording podcasts at the Intel booth, and of course, the thrill of community building that drives them both. So whether you're joining KubeCon in person or tuning in from afar, get ready for an episode that's full of energy, insight, and a sneak peek into what makes KubeCon's open source community so unique. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or Spotify to The Landscape if you haven't done so already. This episode is brought to you by OVH Cloud, the global cloud provider delivering industry-leading performance and cost-effective solutions. From managed Kubernetes to private registries, OVH Cloud has the cloud-native tools you need. OVH Cloud, the world needs different. Well, there are KubeCon talks, and then there are KubeCon talks with costumes, which I absolutely love. I'm joined today by two wonderful people who are going to be rocking costumes in their KubeCon talk. Their names are Lori and Katherine. Could you just introduce yourselves really quickly, who you are and what you do, and then we'll speak about the costumes. Let's start with you, Lori.
Sweet. So thank you so much for inviting us on. Name's Lori Lorusso. I am a CNCF ambassador, CDF ambassador, DOK SIG co-chair, but mostly the head of community at Percona. So live in that open source life and all about community and costumes, apparently.
Very good. How about you, Katherine?
Sure. I'm Katherine Druckman. I am an open source security evangelist at Intel, and I am also involved in many community things. I am the co-chair of the DevRel Community and Marketing Committee at the OpenSSF. I do many other things, including I will be at KubeCon with Lori doing this talk. And when Lori asks me if I would like to dress up in costume and give a presentation with her, the answer is always going to be yes. I will also be there, actually, incidentally, recording a lot of podcasts myself, so that'll be cool. So come by the Intel booth, please, and wave hi to me in my fishbowl.
Very good. Also keep that in mind. So, Lori, tell us more about your talk. What's the title? What can we expect in it?
Okay, so our talk is called A Hitchhiker's Guide to the CNCF Landscape. And basically, nothing is worse than when someone tells you when you can't find out information or you want to find out more information to just go to the website. That is so crazy to me because that to me makes me that much more frustrated. So the whole purpose of this talk is to take you to the CNCF landscape, show you how to use some of the drill downs and look at some of the projects you might not know that could really help you on your journey in building out your infrastructure. So if you look at the stats, there's over 190 plus projects at the CNCF right now, but how many do you really know about? And our goal is to really kind of educate you on ways to find out about the ones that you don't know about that could maybe help them get to the next level through the process.
Do you know the website, the Let Me Google That For You? It's kind of a sarcastic thing. If somebody asks you a question you think is stupid and you're like, let me Google that for you. And it sends them a link to like a screencast of you Googling it for them. That's how it feels when somebody, it's like, I was actually kind of hoping for a little bit better answer. But anyway, let's continue.
Okay. Well, with that in mind too, Katherine, I do understand the topic of this, the title, talking about hitchhikers, but the costumes, what costumes can we expect?
Well, is this a video or I can't remember if we said this is video, but you'll see a little preview from Lori. We're going on safari. I think that's about that sums it up pretty well. We're going on safari and the costumes will match.
Very good. A lot to explore there. And I do think this is something that comes up time and time again. It's actually why we created this podcast called The Landscape, to be able to go across the CNCF landscape, shed light on the different projects so it's not as overwhelming. And, who is this? Who do you want to come to your talk based on, age, experience? Is there anything people should keep in mind? Any prerequisites that they might want to check out before attending?
I think the only prerequisite you need to have is curiosity, right? So whether you've been in the cloud native landscape game for years, we all celebrated Kubernetes during 10 this year, or you're brand new, you can always learn something. There's always value and just kind of seeing things from a different standpoint. And I know that George has worked so hard, George from the CNCF, on getting the landscape to where it can be absolutely usable and beneficial to users at any stage of the game, whether you're an end user or you're a project yourself, to make sure your listing is the way it needs to be. So I would say anyone that's just really kind of interested to learn more about, again, the multitude of projects at the CNCF, but also how just to figure out how they might work within your own infrastructure should come.
Fantastic. And we were lucky enough to speak to George previously and got to hear more about, where this initiative around, we can say, a sort of revamp on the project pavilion, getting those tours going so people can go up to maintainers, get that interaction. That's what KubeCon's all about. We do get to see each other a couple of times a year. Those of us who are fortunate enough to attend in person, I think this sort of takes it to the next level. Katherine, I know you said you're going to be podcasting. Do you have any other KubeCon plans?
Not really, no. Usually at KubeCon, I'm fairly tied to my little fishbowl because I talk to people nonstop, which is great. It's a great, I'm not complaining here for sure. I get to talk to a lot of really cool people. And so I'm kind of camped out there doing that all day long, every day.
And there is no shortage of conversations when it comes to security and open source. So I'm sure you'll be plenty busy. Lori, what about you? Any other plans for KubeCon?
So I'm extremely excited to be speaking at Cloud Native Rejects, which is before KubeCon. I think a lot of us see it as a badge of honor when you can't get into the KubeCon because it's such a hard schedule, to then get into Rejects, which is also equally as hard. So my talk is called The 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon Open Source Edition. So it kind of leads really well into what we're doing at the Project Pavilion, right? It's how to network, how to expand who you know into all facets of things, and not be afraid of understanding that we are all under this one big community umbrella. And you would be so surprised how many people you know by virtue of knowing someone else, that the sky is really the limit.
And even Kevin Bacon. So I look forward to that. I will be next. Nothing I didn't expect to hear about, but that's fantastic. Well, thank you both very much. Looking forward to seeing you in KubeCon. I hope to channel some security folks your way, Katherine, for some interviews.
Thank you. Oh, I would appreciate
that. For
people,
one thing we didn't get to, though, when is your talk going to be? When, where, how can we go check it out?
So we are very fortunate to be kicking off the Project Pavilion on Tuesday. So we will have our first intro at 9:01, which is interesting. Oh, yes, 01. And then we'll be wrapping up at 1:03. So there'll be tons of Project Pavilion talks or project talks during that time frame, but we're kicking it off and capping it.
Very good. Okay. Well, we know where to be and at what time. Thank you both very much. We'll see you in Salt Lake City. Take care.
Thanks, Bart.
Thanks.